Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Board of Sewer Commissioners meeting. It is December 14th, time approximately 6:35. Location, we are at the Multi-Service Center, room 320. There is no Zoom link to this meeting, so I call the meeting to order. May I have the roll call, please?
Jim Gibberti, present.
Peter Dunlop, present.
Bob Scanlon, present.
Bernie Pigeon present.
Sandy Slavin.
Thank you. We have a quorum. We have a full contingent this evening. We have another issue of public comments. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make a comment? Thank you. There being none, we'll move on. Next item is meeting minutes. The first one is September 28th. It was our joint meeting with Bourne Sewer Commissioners.
I have reviewed them and find the meeting minutes to be accurate and complete.
May I have a motion to accept?
Make a motion, we accept
September 28th.
approval of the September 28th minutes.
Seconded.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote, 5-0-0.
4-0, I wasn't here.
Excuse me.
But you're just accepting?
Oh, you're just accepting?
Oh, I can
Yes.
still vote?
Accept.
Yes.
Fine, excuse me, 5-0-0 then.
Thank you.
I have reviewed the minutes of October 12th, 2023, and find them to be complete and accurate.
Make a motion, we accept, what are we doing? Accepting
October
the minutes.
12th.
October 12th.
Right, accepting the October 12th minutes.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? It's a vote, 5-0-0.
I have reviewed the minutes of November 9th, 2023, and find them to be complete and accurate.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
November 9th.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? It's a vote, 5-0-0.
I have reviewed and accepted the minutes of November 30th, 2023, but unfortunately, they're not in the packet for you people to take a look at them. So I recommend we hold them until you're able to see the actual document.
Hold till the next meeting. I'll make a motion, we,
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to postpone.
Bob? Yep.
I'm on. Seconded.
Motion made and seconded to postpone to the next meeting's agenda. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed? They are postponed to next meeting. Item 5, the pending minutes and incomplete minutes. I asked Christiana, just as an FYI, to make us aware that there are minutes awaiting certain corrections or alterations based on the clerk's advice. And one is the awaiting a video. Now, I wonder if our TV could explain possibility that the lack of a video, and you handed it to me, I know, during our meeting.
Well, I wasn't there at the meeting with somebody else, but the meeting has been posted online.
It has been online, is online now.
It wasn't posted at first, but now it is.
Good.
After we were notified.
Okay, and by way of just FYI for our audience, in terms of information, our meeting minutes, our meetings are posted on YouTube, so you can catch us again.
Yippee.
So that would be November 16th and December 4th. December 4th, we were meeting with the Wareham Water Department in a joint meeting, and we will have an independent set of minutes, and we'll have the Water Department minutes along with it, just as backup.
Okay. Mr. Chair, these have been signed. Will you please put them in the blue folder so they can go back to the office for processing?
Certainly.
Thank you.
You need a motion that we accept YouTube as he's on the last two.
Beg your pardon?
You want a motion that we accept YouTube for the last 2 minutes there?
No, we don't need a
Oh, okay,
motion for that. It's, as I said, it's an FYI.
okay.
We also have, and I passed out this evening, I apologize, I have been out of town for a few days, so that I didn't get an opportunity. I thought I had in email and copied you. Apparently, the town of Warren, as they expressed informally earlier, want to expand their existing system under our current contract with their campground along the Buzzards Bay, and they identify it as a particular parcel. I'm going to, they have formally informed us of their intent through this communications, but I'm going to have to set up a meeting because I have spoke with our director, and he's familiar with their system, and there's possibility of a few additional items that he may want or we may want to be added to the process. Nothing that would actually be over and above our contractual obligation, but just a further caution and items that may be interested in. Scott, would you want to express any interest about, because this is a campground, and you and I have had a discussion, and campgrounds, their disposal tends to have more items than we typically allow in our system.
Well, it's the stabilized waste that goes into campers while they drive down the road. That's usually a stabilizer to make it not smell as bad, and that can actually kind of wreak havoc when they dispose of it all. So I don't even know if they allow it. Some places don't allow the dumping of it at their facilities, so I would just like to see how they handle it.
Is there anything that we would have to add to our system to cope with such?
No, it's just a lot of it at one time might cause some issues, more with the piping and the sewer
Aren't we already
itself.
dealing with the campground at the present time? And they're just looking at expanding, is that correct? Am I missing something?
I don't believe the campground is hooked in.
Okay, I thought it was, all right.
Will that strictly be seasonal?
No, we haven't had an extensive. This is the first formal notification they've had. In our joint meeting, they indicated, and I've had conversations with Jared, their sewer commissioner, and he's indicated that they're interested in doing so and have conversations within themselves, sewer commission, but now is a formal notice.
Well, them saying that they're having a meeting coming up next Tuesday. Well, is somebody going to represent us at that meeting?
I will be in touch with Jared, see what he,
Won't be me. No, that's the surgery.
you have an appointment?
I have an appointment, I hope.
I hope it goes through, you better be there.
Something to consider, if the bridge is worked on, they could very well be losing this campground for the expansion of the Bourne Bridge.
You got another 10 years for that.
But it's one of those things, there's a lot of money to put in for something that is not a permanent.
Well, I think that's why we need to have somebody at this 19th meeting and get all the particulars.
I'll be in touch with
Because
Jared.
even
see
if
what
we're
he
going to
wants
start
do.
working on it, it could be 10 years before we could implement it. By that time, the new bridge will be in place. Sorry.
There may be a whole new group of people here, sitting here.
I know there will be. I know there will be.
I thought
Okay.
you said you were gonna stay around till then. Did I miss something?
I'm sorry. Don't get your hopes up.
Yeah, make sure you speak into the mic, because we want stuff like that on record. Okay, I will give you, in touch with Jared and ask what his intent is, and if someone or one of us should be at
May
that
I
meeting.
follow up with Scott on something?
Of course.
If there is a concern about the composition of the material being pumped out of mobile homes and campers and stuff, wouldn't that also be a concern coming out of boats at our various dumping sites that we have to clean out their septic systems? Aren't they also treated in such a way to reduce the smell?
I don't honestly know about both.
Because I think they're dumping into our sewer system now at
Again,
our,
it's the volume. I don't know.
oh,
the volume.
okay.
So none of it's a non-starter.
Okay,
It's just an
just-
inquiry that we should make.
The composition of the waste has a little bit more stuff in it than what comes out of a human body.
Yeah.
Is another way of putting it. Yes, okay, sorry.
In other words,
Moving right along. The next item on our agenda Here's an update from Charles Lombardi of O&M Solutions. He is a consultant, and we've asked him to analyze and give us his opinion, the condition of the system. Charlie, you give us an update, if you would, please.
So I prepared the first progress report. I tried to email it, but because of the pictures, it kept bouncing back. So I had it here early this morning, and in the future, there's gonna be pictures in a lot of them, so I'm gonna try to have them a day earlier to give to everybody.
Could you send it a week earlier than you are physically here, so that we have time to look it over?
I can. If
Because
you,
it's interesting, but I'll never get through the whole thing before you're finished.
it's too bad, because it's a really good report.
That means that I'll have a list of questions for you next time, Charlie.
I'm up to it. So, what I did is I put this report together based on 4 of the 20-something scope items in the contract, and they're highlighted here. Most of them dealt with staff and the organizational structure, and I know it was of interest to look at the treatment plant. And so the highlighted, the 4 highlighted areas are related to 4 of the scope items, as I said, in the scope. And I try to break it down as best I could. We've done a lot of, and I do have to say that Scott has been great to work with, and his staff has been outstanding. They're really, they're kind of really into this, and they don't hold back. So, and some of the things you see in the pictures have been addressed. You know, for example, on page 7, you can see all this debris. That's all been moved out, right? It's all been moved out in a dumpster. We're in the process of working with a couple of different entities to get rid of the barrels that you see on page 8. I've contacted the utility to have them come out and remove the branches that on the pole where the power is for the Nanamid pump station. And I'm pretty certain that Scott has plans to, you know, repair some of the items you see in the pictures on the pump stations where you have rotted out portions of the roof and windows, which exist at a lot of the pump stations. So, and gonna do it with in-house staff. They got experienced in-house staff that can handle this kind of work. I put a separate portion of the report, which was the organizational charts that I was given in the very beginning of the project. And there really is no organization here. It's 7 laborers, 2 lab techs, part-time. They have 1 operator right now that recently was hired. They have some very good administrative support in Scott. And based on where I am to this point in my team, we're gonna recommend a realignment, I'm supposed to call it a realignment, of 24 positions, and that is reflected in the figure 5, the very last figure, where the brownish orange is the collection system component, and the blue is the treatment system component. And I included an electrician because in my experience, the majority of the repairs on pump stations at a treatment plant are electrical. And so I included it as something to be considered. This planner and scheduler that's up top in the administrative section is someone that would put together work orders and distribute them and take them in to close them out, and also could do some procurement activities and inventory control. So this is what I'm going to be recommending. I kind of put it to the head of the class because Scott's rightly so, in a hurry to get this department realigned, and I think it should be renamed. I was gonna call it the sewer department, but Scott actually thinks it carries more weight if it's called the Water Pollution Control Department, because WPCF is a facility. It's an acronym for the treatment plant. And I think you should dump it, and I think you should call it the Water Pollution Control Department, and do whatever you have to do to change the letterhead and whatever, because it's a department, and it's gonna be a department moving forward. So, as I said, the first of at least 5 progress reports. Commissioner Dunlap, I will get it a week earlier if you allow me to come to the second commission meeting in January to present it, which is, what date in January is the second commission meeting?
In January?
I don't think I can have it ready.
It's the second Thursday of January.
Date.
No, the
If I
fourth
could
Thursday
come to
of
the
January.
second Thursday in January.
The fourth Thursday in January.
Fourth.
We meet the second and fourth
Fourth,
Thursdays
right.
of every
And
month.
I can do that if,
That would be January 25th.
yep, I'm definitely agreeing to get it to you a week early and talk about it on January 25th.
Is it possible to send us the words and put the pictures in a separate attachment on
It
another
is.
email, and as opposed to trying to put it all in one email?
It is. It is. I can do that.
Because I know how hard, my system doesn't like big files.
I kept trying to do it, and it kept bouncing back. It was very frustrating. So I don't know if you had a chance to look at anything, you have any questions, it pretty much aligns with the direction that Scott wants to go in and is moving forward in. He's allowed me and my team to help him out in some areas. We're gonna be, like I said, looking to get those barrels moved out. The grease that was being brought in by a private commercial establishment has been stopped. I think, is Grease still gonna take that grease?
Maybe
It's there.
eventually, yeah.
And,
Well, Charlie, is there anything in these barrels, or are they empty and clean?
there doesn't appear to be anything in them, but we've talked to a couple of vendors, and they're looking for MSDS sheets and what was in them. And I don't think a lot of them have labels.
Because I'm looking at this and saying, great rain barrels for garden club people.
Well, and I
But
had
we
a
don't know
couple that
what's
my
in 'em.
neighbor took and cut in half and used as planters.
And I have somebody that wants to take 3 to make wine,
Have a yard sale.
use them to make wine.
Well, that's, you better check what was in them then.
So, but a lot of what you see here is being addressed, and it's either been addressed or in the process of being addressed. And I could have given you more, but this is enough for now.
Time altogether, make a hell of a float.
I was thinking a bridge across the river, down the river.
Hey, we could do that across the canal, I wouldn't have to put in a bridge.
I do want to add something on Bourne, okay, because I heard you talking about it. We have a meeting in Bourne Tuesday. That we were looking at the odor problem that has existed on, is it Cohasset Street or Road?
Cohasset Narrows.
What is it?
Cohasset Narrows.
Not Narrows,
Okay.
the street. There was.
There's a lot of sulfur smelling stuff coming off of Hideaway, right? They're not treating that stuff coming in from that Hideaway group, and it's hitting that street in Jefferson Shore
Correct.
and corroding that manhole.
They did already reline the manholes.
Is that the one we looked at,
Piping
Sandy,
is PVC, so.
a year or two ago?
Yeah, it was so smelly, the neighbor says, no matter what I do, it doesn't stop smelling.
Where is it?
I think it's
It's right off of Red Brook Road,
Right,
where,
It's where the Bourne system dumps into our gravity system.
right,
It's a manhole, and
Yep.
it takes all the flow when Bourne system dumps in. It's not an uncommon problem. It's a
it
pretty
was one of the
common
places
problem.
they were gonna put a
So-
meter in there to watch the
Are
flow.
you saying Bourne stinks in a nice way?
They're not treating it like they should, so we're getting a lot of smell.
Well, what happens
Don't hold
is, they're treating the flow at this pump station, which is maybe a mile, a little more than a mile, into Bourne. And it comes into a manhole in front of 64, I think it's Cohasset Street. So what happens is, when it has aqueous hydrogen sulfide in it, that when it goes from force main to gravity, it splashes. It just, there's a elbow, just comes down, and 1 milligram of aqueous hydrogen sulfide can turn into 300 milligrams of atmospheric hydrogen sulfide. And then, that condensates, and it turns into sulfuric acid, and it corrodes concrete, and it corrodes ductile iron. It doesn't hurt vitrified clay, and it doesn't hurt PVC. But, you got the odor issue, and you got the corrosion issue. And those lines, Scott's staff went out there and TV inspected that line, and they said there was a lot of grease in it, but the pipe is PVC, and the manholes have all been bulletproof with an epoxy coating. But you still have to deal with the odors. Bourne is adding potassium permanganate in some sort of a sock. They're hanging it in the pump station, and we're gonna meet with the DPW director on Tuesday out at the pump station and talk about this. So I didn't know if that's where this campground is gonna discharge to. I don't know what
It
the
would
camp-
join into it.
It would.
Yeah, it'll all fill into it.
So again, with the if there was stabilized waste coming in, it would have that much more time to become a little bit more volatile.
Yeah, so it's something to consider. And so we have a 9 o'clock meeting out at the pump station, and talk about how Bourne may deal with this, to prevent this odor issue and possible corrosion issue further on down in Wareham system, affecting those pipes and manholes that haven't been protected. Just thought you'd like to hear that. It's one of the things that, came under the scope, and
Well, over time, there's been several issues that every reference has been made to coming from Bourne, and I think this gives us an opportunity to actually solve some of the problems if you feel comfortable however you feel comfortable doing, Scott, because this is in your ballpark.
Yeah, a lot of simple solutions to it.
they have a new DPW commissioner. He's Matt Zawiski, I think is his name, and he's been there a month, and he's very proactive and willing to work with the town. So I just thought I'd throw that out there when I heard Bourne.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Of Charlie? Go ahead.
On your, excuse me, on your reorganization here on 5,
Yep. Yes.
I don't see anything for, like, the camera crew, for going to, looking at some of our I&I problems.
It would be, a business practice and activity that would be handled by, one of the crews that's listed as a sewer maintenance, skilled labor maintenance and collection system working foreman and laborer. In a group
So
like
it-
that would be the ones that would handle that kind of an activity on a somewhat regular basis, because I'm gonna be recommending that 50% of the system be looked at per year. And the best number I got is that they have 61 miles of sewer lines in the town.
I thought we were told 90.
We were told a lot of things.
Well, I'm hearing between 61 and 90.
Yeah, 90 was the number that used to be tossed around.
I heard 61 twice, so I'm gonna use 61.
I heard 90
Well, if you want me to use
How many
90,
times?
three times now.
Why don't we just use under 100?
the reason I'm looking for a number is, if we do half the system, I wanted to provide you with a staff utilization rate to do it, because they can, right now, they believe they can do 3,600 feet a day. They put the TV camera in, which, it's pretty impressive TV camera. They MacGyvered a ambulance, and the TV camera seems adequate for this town, you know, with the size sewers you have. And the person that operates it is pretty experienced and wants to, you know, train other people, which is the right thing to do. And so they go into a manhole and they go 600 feet one way and 600 feet another. And so every setup, they can do 1,200 feet. So I'm assuming they do 3 setups a day. They may be able to do more, but if they do that, based on 61, I figure they could do like 30 miles of sewer in 44 days. And if it's more, you know, I can recalculate, if we use 45, because that's half of 90, I can calculate what that is for the staff utilization for that activity. And, you know, that activity would include...
Now, when you do that, do you have a recording of it?
Yes.
Yeah, they can put it on a thumb drive. And
Okay.
they're looking into getting a printer, so if you want to zero in on a particular defect, you'll be able to get a printout of it.
Okay.
And look at it.
Just that there was an awful lot of positive feedback when some of those deplorable pictures of parts of the plant were shown online. I guess we did it on Facebook, but it just might be helpful when we have to go out looking for funds to show what we're dealing with.
Yeah, beyond what Charlie's talking about, we actually also have a computer program that's gonna upload the video as we take it directly to the cloud, basically. And an engineer's gonna be able to download that, evaluate it, and give us a report on it. We have to complete 100% of the system over the next 2 years, so.
We're mandated to do so?
Generally speaking, through the CMOM program, the EPA set up.
Does
yes.
any funds come with that program?
Nope, just tasks.
Unfunded mandates.
That's where the cake sale comes in.
But, you know, these videos, the impact is better in color,
I think they're in color,
Yeah, they're in color.
are they?
yeah.
Some of the printouts might have been in black and white, but I actually have color video of some areas.
A brown is brown,
It is.
Different shades.
different
though.
shades.
Okay, moving right along here. Any other questions of Charlie? Bob?
Nope.
Jimmy?
Nope,
Sandy?
catch up with them later.
Does part of this include our inspection of various restaurants for fog? I mean,
Well, I'm
we're,
gonna be talking to you about that later on. Because that's exactly what I'm doing in the city of Newton.
controlling the grease coming out of the restaurants.
Yes, and I have about 500 pictures on this phone of grease, the traps that aren't being properly maintained are maintained frequently enough.
Well, they've got more restaurants than we do, so, yep.
And they have a lot of restaurants that go to big outside traps that are like 10,000 gallons. And many of them have gone to increasing the frequency of the maintenance of those traps, both inside and outside.
Well,
You can guess what are the worst offenders.
Isn't the recurring maintenance of that part of their ongoing permitting processes?
Their permitting, what their permits say is that they have to maintain their grease traps in a manner to achieve compliance with the city ordinance, which is 100 milligrams per liter. The city doesn't, some cities do, but Newton doesn't say you need to clean your traps once a month. They say you need to clean them at a frequency that's going to ensure
There's a lot
compliance.
of wishy-washy. Got a lot of leeway in that, don't they?
Well, that's why we go in there and inspect them and take samples. And there's a couple of criteria you can use. You can take, if the grease layer is 25% of the working water depth, it's not in compliance. And you can take samples every 15 minutes while the restaurant or food servicing establishment, because it includes hospitals, it includes universities, and it includes schools, because they are, any place that has any kind of food processing in as a trap. But the permit says they have to do what it takes to, achieve compliance. And the plumbing inspector usually determines the size of a trap, and the restaurant has to determine, based on the usage, what the cleaning frequency is. And the reason that the city didn't want to do it, if they say you clean it once a month, and when we go and test it and it doesn't meet the 100 milligram per liter limit, they're going to say, well, we're doing what you told us to do. So they say, clean it at a frequency that's going to ensure compliance with the city ordinance.
What is Wareham's rules regarding grease traps?
I have not looked at that
Okay.
yet.
Charlie, out of curiosity, with Newton and the rest of the ones you've done, what kind of enforcement is there on it? Who does the inspections to determine whether or not I'm compliant?
My team.
Okay, if you're not hired by the town, then who does it?
You could hire somebody to do it, but some communities have done that, and then they reverted back to, using somebody from the outside.
Yeah, I'm not trying to do anything, I'm just curious, what ability do you have to enforce that on me? Now I'm not compliant. What happens now?
Well, we get a badge, like we're an extension of the city of Newton staff,
Like we have?
and we go in and we put a rather extensive report together, an initial report and a follow-up report, and I'll bring in January, I'll include one so you can see it. And if we do any compliance sampling, we have a contract with a lab, it's called Rhode Island Analytical, they're very good. And we bring the samples there to be analyzed, they turn them around to me in less than a week. And we start working with the particular establishment to determine what they're gonna do to move towards compliance. It's a different way they maintain them. Some of them can maintain them themselves and just scoop out the grease, throw it in the trash, and they don't, suck out the rest of the liquid in the solids that are on the bottom, and that's the proper way to clean them. And we're gonna be recommending that if they allow self-cleaning, they gotta have a criteria for it. And then, whether they self-clean or they clean using a professional service, such as Wind River, A&K Waste, and there's a bunch of them out there, Baker Commodities, that they post a log on the wall on a board somewhere near the trap.
Yep.
And if it's an outside trap, they keep it in a central file, so when the Board of Health comes in, that's what they look at.
Gotcha.
To see that it's being maintained. And then, if there's any issue, they'll look in the report. The reports get put into the GIS database in the city, and they use People GIS. So we've inspected 341, we call them FSEs, Food Service Establishments. And about 20% have modified their maintenance frequency to minimize the contribution of fats, oils, and grease to the sewer system. Because they had, what started it is they had 28 locations in the city that they had to clean either once a month or once a week. 8 of the 28 they had to clean once a week. So they don't want to put undue hardship on any of these businesses, but they want to collectively work with them
Right.
to educate them, so they minimize the contribution.
That seems like the biggest problem, is the education of them. Because most of them probably don't realize
And, you know, out
the
of the three,
downside of it, of not doing the stuff.
they're pretty receptive.
Yeah.
And out of the 300, I think there's 341, so, and we go back to some of the usual suspects. Only 3 have refused to let us enter and look. And, you know, we don't like to do this, but then we bring in a Board of Health inspector, and when we go in, it's like we're walking in with the Queen of England. You know, they open the door and, oh, you didn't tell me, you know, that, and but the intent of the program is not to notch any guns or anything. It's to educate people and minimize the contribution. And it can be done here too as well.
So you have a contract with the city of Newton, so it's an outside agency doing all of this.
Yes, I do.
So
Looks even better.
if we were going to do it, we'd literally have to go to an outside agency. We don't have anybody like over in the,
I can do it.
oh, no, I understand that. I'm just wondering how we're gonna pay for it. Now, I'm not saying it's not necessary by any means. It's just that we've been attempting to do it ourselves and getting nowhere. And more or less going, hoping that they're cooperating, but we don't know. But I don't know, how bad's the grease at the plant at this point?
The plant things aren't too bad. But there are a lot of locations in town, like Charlie's saying, that have some pretty bad grease problems.
When they take care of that trap, does it come to you at the plant at all? Or does it go elsewhere?
The
grease.
grease is pumped and would be received as grease, not septic. So it goes currently somewhere else.
Or in the trash.
That's somewhere
Self-clean
else.
is usually thrown in the trash. The major companies like Wind River, Baker Commodities, they bring
They're
it
big enough to have
somewhere else.
a place to dispose of.
And it's kind of interesting because Newton is one of the 43 communities that's part of the MWRA, and, you know, where I used to work. The MWRA has 300 miles of sewer pipe, but 60% of them are like 60 inches in diameter or bigger. So what the MWRA did is years ago, they raised the limit to 300 milligrams per liter. But they say to their member communities, you have to be as least as stringent as we are, but you can be more stringent, okay, to satisfy your needs. And a lot of communities have smaller pipes that get clogged up quicker. And I think you, in this town, have a lot of 8-inch pipe. So they're gonna clog quick. I don't know how many sewer backups you've had, you know, overflows related to a grease buildup, but it's a problem if it's not controlled.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we got kind of ourselves sidetracked here.
Yep.
Yeah, well,
So when
sorry
you,
about
when
that.
you cook your bacon, wipe your pan before you wash it.
Exactly,
Dump it
Yeah.
in on a paper towel in the,
Yeah,
exactly.
wipe your pan before you wash it.
And
Don't pick on your bacon, every pan you should.
and that paper towel
Get grease on every
is
one of
great for starting a fire.
There you go.
True.
You throw it in the wood stove, bingo.
Okay.
Okay, anything else for Charlie? Thank you very much.
This is
And I'll put you on the
very good.
agenda for January 26th.
you can call me if you have any questions.
No, I haven't had time to read it to ask an intelligent question, you know. Not that I'm noted for asking intelligent questions. but-
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Merry Christmas, if I
Good
don't...
Christmas.
And same to you.
Excuse me?
I said, good holidays.
You too. Thank you.
Now you're gonna go face 128?
Next on our agenda is the,
Have a coffee and then I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
At least you don't have to go to
128 doesn't
Washington
require
Bridge.
coffee.
You have to go to Providence.
the next on our agenda is the Onset Water Department upcoming meeting. I was hoping, by the beginning of the week anyway, that I left a message to contact them and hoping they'd call back, and I didn't receive one. I'll try and stop over there tomorrow
I like him.
and just set up a meeting that we can join them as we did with the Wareham Water Department. And I've emailed everything I've received from the Wareham Water Department. They continue to be enthusiastic, as well as their vendor. In fact, their vendor, I think, in one issue, wanted to send us a contract. I thought it was a little premature. But as I said, everything I get, I try and send it out almost immediately.
Northern Data?
Yep.
Northern Data?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just, for the minutes.
But they're eager to go forward, and they're willing to help. And, of course, the company that does their accounting is enthusiastic about how hopefully getting another customer. Okay, and the Swift Speech update. Commissioner Scanlon,
Everything.
what stories do you have to tell?
What stories do I have to tell? Been down there every day. Everything seems to be going well. The pits are being dug. The sheet pile is, if it isn't complete, it's getting there. No real issues. The other night, a woman complained that her water had been shut off, but I think it was a seasonal resident who came down and noticed that the water was not on, and apparently it was not on the maps. But I believe subsequently the next morning that was taken care of and hooked up. Other than that, that's pretty much it.
Well, we had another individual that called the plant, and Christiana took the call, passed the information on. A gentleman was complaining about the vibration, and it was causing damage within his home. And I passed it on to Danny's and said, obviously being the contractor, he stopped down and met with the gentleman, I think this past Sunday, went through his home and discovered primarily it would be the home is old, and there had been some do-it-yourself repair work and changes and remodeling that had been done that were getting a little fragile and old, and so it was not really our problem per se, but Danny has advised the fellow if he wants to pursue complaint or anything, that he will send his adjuster down there certainly and do whatever is necessary that needs doing if the insurance or the like. But it is over in Danny's hands, and he's handling it very well. And I think the gentleman said, Danny said when he left him was agreeable. There were certain issues there that perhaps weren't caused by, but again, the question is to continue resolve, and I believe Danny's handling it. And
What are they doing down there to make vibrations?
well, that's
Digging a
Heavy
hole?
equipment.
just to have the equipment moving around.
On the roads?
Yeah.
Yes, and also I think when
I
they
think it
were,
was the driving of the sheet pile. They just put a vibratory rig on
Oh,
top
okay,
of
so-
with pressure to vibrate a steel sheet.
So this
down.
home is pretty close to the construction site?
Yes.
yes, right on the street.
Pound, okay.
It's typical equipment they used in this process, and I think they ran into some large stone, a particular one, they were moving it around, something of that nature. But that's being taken care of. And the next on our agenda is GHG Headworks and Clarifiers update, please. How do you do, Mark?
Sorry. Good evening. Mark Drainville with GHD. Give a little bit of an update on where things stand. So in mid-October, we submitted an application to the state, and the state reviews the contents of the application. It's a combination of technical information as well as miscellaneous things like flood data, permits. It's a wide variety of things, and so they there's just a couple of things that they came up with that still need to be submitted. One of them is a DEP permit that's still under review by DEP, and we also have a planning board, a Wareham planning board permit that's going to be taken up, I think we were told, in January. So there's a couple of permits that are left to be addressed. One other item is so the project requires approximately 10% of all of the work be done by disadvantaged business enterprises. It's an SRF requirement. That's on engineering contracts as well as the construction contract. So we are nearly complete with how we propose to meet that. And we expect them to probably prove that before the end of December. So we're very close. There's just a couple of items. The permits are for the state as well as the Wareham Planning Board are probably not going to be completed until January. Okay. We're also in the process of pre-qualifying contractors for this project. We are getting qualifications from contractors tomorrow, and then we'll be reviewing those and pre-qualifying contractors. So it's a state process that's required based on the size of the project. So that should be complete in January also. So in the first half of next year, so between January and May, there'll be 2 contracts that'll come before this board. One will be the engineering contract. It's around January and February, and then there'll be a much larger contract around May. That will be the construction contract. So the low bidder, the construction contract, the bid opening is approximately mid to late April. So we'll have to time a review for you all. And, that's going to be around approximately May 1st, I would say. So we'll hope to have a contractor signed up sometime in May. The deadline is June 30th, so we have, we have a decent buffer in there to take care of that. So right now we're looking at March 1st, starting the bid period. April 30th would be the end of the bid period, and then have a contractor on board by May 31st. So that's the approximate time frame right now.
Excellent.
So the SRF program needs to allow the town to go to bid. That's called a permission to advertise. So we would expect to have that by March 1st. And then they also have to give you authorization to award the contract. So there's 2 things that'll come from the SRF program. We'll facilitate those, but we do have to get permits in hand before, we can proceed. So anyway, there's a bunch of things that'll happen early next year, but they're all seem to be well in hand,
So none of this will be available then for Springtown meeting?
Well, I don't think we have to go to Springtown meeting for anything.
Yeah, there's nothing, there wouldn't be any.
Nothing we have to get approval?
No, we've already it's already been authorized.
Yep.
36
So the
mil.
money's there?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
well, in a manner of speaking.
The 36 million has already been approved.
This will all come under that?
Yep.
Yes,
I'm sorry, okay.
okay.
Yep. Yep.
Any other questions? Nothing?
The only thing I'll mention is that, the planning board, they've given us a rough time frame of January. So that is something we are going to need before we go to bid. We have to have all permits. So we'll keep you up to date on
You
that.
already have conservation, right?
Yes.
So
yes,
you're just, planning is the only one pending.
Yes.
Good luck.
So,
Anything else, gentlemen, ladies? Mark, thank you very much,
all right, thank you.
and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.
You all.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is the OSD contract for $150,000. It's a proposal for additional services for the Narrows Pump Station Force Main Rehab Project permitting. And it was addressed to Scott.
This is the one who already approved,
We voted on this
but we
11:30.
didn't, but we didn't put it on the agenda, therefore we're ratifying our vote tonight.
That's right.
Yes,
That's it. That's exactly what it is.
I'm glad someone explained that.
So I make a motion that we ratify
Second.
the vote for 150,000 for OSD. This is an hourly rate, if I remember the contract.
$150,000,
Yes.
that's the contract.
So that's just to ratify what we did last meeting.
I will second that motion.
Motion is made and seconded.
Aye.
Wait a minute, don't, take your time now.
I think we signed it at the last
there's a
meeting.
football
Yeah, we did sign it.
We just had to, yeah, we just had to verify it.
On the ratification motion's been made and seconded. May I have a roll call, please?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
That's not a roll call.
500.
5 ayes.
Next item on the agenda, the recap of Tagan Bond. I called them because I felt I had information somewhere or other that they had done something with us, a couple years ago, with response to changing from EDU to usage. And the gentleman I was speaking with had been involved in that.
That
With this
name's
board.
familiar.
Yes, and he's very enthusiastic about working with us and is willing to come back, if only just to talk to us, to get an idea and understanding of what they could possibly do for us and the basic pros and cons of EDUs. That there was a PowerPoint presentation at one time. Let's see if I can dig that out. And if you'd like, I'll invite him back in and we can question him to see what he would think.
Do you have any idea about what time it happened? I went through 5 years of minutes and could not find them mentioned.
Really?
They were, oh,
It might be past 5 years.
I went back to
I think
2018.
it was the second year I was on.
well, yeah, it could have been that far back.
I think it might be getting closer to almost 7 years since
Okay.
we were up there and talked to them.
So maybe that's why I don't have it in my
Yeah.
minutes.
Now, I've asked Christiana to
How many years
research,
you been on?
because back in 2015,
Oh, then it is.
I think it was in the latter part of the year, they voted to go from EDU to usage. But according to the gentleman I spoke with, it seemed to have been dropped after that. There was no more forward motion in respect to it, and that was a transition between selectmen and the actual sewer commission.
No.
No, we were
no,
commissioners.
Not at all.
Well,
Not right.
It could have been, would have been the time frame. No, as I say, transition.
The dropping came about because of the presentation they made, and they were all over the map, but had nothing to say concrete on where we were gonna go or how we could do anything. They came up with some numbers in the $1,000 plus range for the cost of sewer to each home. But they had nothing to do, to give us on how we could handle water, if we could get that at the time. We didn't have it, they couldn't get any cooperation from the water department at the time, so.
He actually remarked on the fact that the resistance you were experiencing with Wareham
Well,
Water and all.
the water
And
department-
when I told him, no, they're very enthusiastic, and he said, that is one hurdle.
Well, the water department, if I remember right, the water department gave them 3 years of history of water usage. And that's what they based all their findings on. But when we tried to pin them down to give us a formula for how you come up with this number, we got no place.
Because you frequently mentioned that you never saw the formula.
But Jimmy and I went up to their facility in Westwood, and about the only thing they wanted to do was take us down and show us their pretty cafeteria. I'm not kidding you, am I?
No. You're on. You're on.
The
That
formula
we could
for,
not get any
That's our
straight
point.
answers out of
the
them.
formula for creating EDUs is online. You can get that, we can get that easily. I have it on my desk.
Well, see, how many years have I asked for that report?
I don't know.
Scott,
Yeah, well, that's,
Well, now Scott's here.
and the water
I think
department
we
is-
could
It's
do,
online, I
I
can-
think we could do a pretty decent mathematical evaluation. It'd be pretty straightforward. I think we could do it in-house, and I think we could have a great way to lay out an evaluation.
Have you done a test on it, just to come up with a number?
No.
Good.
It's easy enough to do it, though. I mean,
Well, the number that your predecessor gave us was scary.
I don't know. I have to do it. I'd have to do it myself.
Sometimes when you have spare time.
Now,
I'll bring it home and have my 17-year-old do it as homework.
Yeah, there you go.
according
deal.
to what you sent after your discussion with the water department, the hangup that they see is irrigation.
Well, that wasn't I think that was the only issue he really talked about.
That's
Right.
it.
washing cars,
Yeah,
Our water
Same.
usage that doesn't go down the pipe.
right?
Same problem that every other town has in the
Exactly.
state.
It's not-
Well,
it's
so
not-
it's
just a
not
matter
as-
of finding out how
it's
did
not
they
brain
solve their.
It's not
that-
brain surgery.
and
But be
as long as
careful
we're
with that brain
consistent with this.
surgery thing, okay?
Well, it's not brain surgery, no, it's easy. I mean, you put a second meter in. Who pays for it?
Oh, don't even mention that, because we're not
Well, the
doing
water
anything.
department did not want to go down that route.
No,
Well,
There
I
is a,
don't blame
there-
them.
there is a percentage that
Yeah,
can
it-
be used.
yeah, there's an acceptable one
Exactly.
that's possible.
I mean, and that's
Yeah,
just.
the industry has already figured that part out.
Okay.
Okay, the next one,
Before we go to the next one, I just
Yes.
looked at the planning board's meeting for the 18th. There's nothing on there for the plant. We strongly have to get a hold of the chair of the planning board, Mr. King, to make sure that we get our items on the agenda, because that is holding us up without the permit by the planning department. So work with Ken Buckland to make sure it's on the agenda and not let go and not ignored. As you heard how critical it is to have all the permits done, and it's not on the 18th agenda, I just looked. Sorry to go off
No.
tangent.
No,
I was
that's
looking
great.
for a date on that.
okay, the number 6 Back Street discussion. I believe, let's see,
He's here and been waiting patiently.
beg your pardon?
He's here and he's been waiting patiently,
Ah, wonderful.
but enjoying every minute of this meeting.
Please have a seat, tell us your name and your
Maybe
address,
our
please.
Nielsen ratings will go up.
I'm sure it will.
Oh,
course
good.
Russell Motto, 30 12th Street onset. And I'm a local builder. I'm looking at this property, 6 Back Street. I know it's been on and off the market for a while. I have it under agreement, but it's really subject to getting tied into sewer. There isn't much space on the property for a septic system. And basically here to ask if this property built in 1954 would be subject to the moratorium, since it was in existence and the flow was calculated when the onset pipe went in, before the obviously before the moratorium or the betterments previous to that. So the project would basically depend on if I can tie in without waiting however long that will be.
There is a lateral currently there.
No,
No,
there
there
is
is
no
not.
lateral available.
I've been told there was a lateral there.
We all got the email from Christiana saying there was a lateral. I pushed back, and I forwarded you the email from Anita Mendes. There's no available lateral, because everything in the area has been tied in. I sent you that email from Anita.
I don't know,
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that lateral, all those laterals are committed.
Previously, I was speaking with the previous commissioner before, and we thought there was a lateral there that was put in by a contractor in the 80s that was there in the back street right-of-way, which is a dirt road for whoever was next. There's a duplex on the left on the way in, and I think that that one's not tied in. And there's this back street property in the back that was on septic. So if there is a lateral there that we don't, I guess maybe it's not on the plan. But how do we find out? And,
Has anybody been paying the betterment?
well, there wasn't a betterment because it was built beforehand, and the property burned down, and it's pre-existing to a betterment. So everyone on Onset Ave was allowed to tie in without a betterment at that point, before the betterment took place. When did it take place? I don't even know, the betterment.
Well, the system was installed in mid-'70s, and I would suspect that betterment started at the same time.
Well,
Do we
I'm not
know where
sure
there
about
is a
that
lateral?
Because there was federal funds used to
So,
do the sewer system at the time we
the
started.
unfortunate thing is the plan is not, it just shows a line
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah, you may be
going
right. We don't
towards
know for sure, but that's
the
what I said. I
general
don't know.
vicinity of both a dwelling that's existing and 6.
But I think that line goes either to 270 or 276 or 276A.
Where are you getting these numbers?
I go to the town website
Oh.
and look under
Where's the
utilities.
property on this map?
I don't have that map in front of me, but if I can see it.
Yeah, but where's the property?
Next door to Bebo's.
It says
Oh,
6.
okay.
It's in the back.
What's circled?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Basically behind
Yeah, I got it, okay.
Bebo's in the back.
Just that I see that number 6 there, I didn't know if that,
When did it burn down?
I'm not sure.
Oh, and you just are in the process of building it?
Trying to
Trying
buy
to
the
go through-
property, but it's subject to being able to develop it, which I need to tie into sewer because the wetland area, the way it's set up, it doesn't really fit a septic in there, or it would, it's just, with the, and on top of that, with this being available, this would be the first choice and the better choice for the treatment of the sewage.
But then if the lateral exists, and it would have to go across underneath someone else's property to get to yours.
Actually, it's town property. It's an easement
There is an easement there?
between the two,
There's a road
yeah, that would
behind
work.
BB's.
Yeah, Back Street goes behind, and that's an easement, deeded easement for the property. And Back Street off of Onset Ave is a public way, and then it's an,
How do you
Deeded.
confirm whether or not
Prior to
there's...
it burning, prior to it burning down, it had a septic or a
yes,
cesspool
it
or
did.
something.
Yep, it did.
And currently, that wouldn't conform with.
No, it wouldn't conform. It would,
And it probably had a cesspool.
Would
So
it
we've got
fall
a
under
pre-existing
the,
non-conforming Title V on a wetland.
But how do we confirm whether or not there is a lateral available? You said it was done privately?
in my research, I was told there's a lateral there.
How
But
deep do you think it is?
It should be right where the others are. Is it about 6 feet? I know it's 6 feet on 12th Street, but I'd have to see what you have on.
Yeah, it seems to be a total lack of any paperwork that would suggest that it was installed, either from your own history of looking for the paperwork for the property or in our documentation here in the town building. And that's really the problem. We can't establish a history. If it's soft enough soil, dig down and see if you can find one.
If a contractor remembered putting it there, and would that
Well, we'd
be?
like a little more documentation than that. It's really
Yeah.
under those circumstances.
Yeah.
Why, do you know who did it prior to the burn?
I'm not comfortable naming names right now, but I can ask him.
Yeah, certainly, if
I
you
know
can do
him,
it,
so-
establish it.
Yeah.
But again, if it's, yes, I remember putting it in, it's called hearsay, and it's not something that'd be accepted under the circumstances, because we would have to, in this context, be making an exception.
Would I be allowed to dig down and look for it there?
Well, it's on someone's
some-
property.
Yeah.
It's a right away or for this property.
would the,
It's a deeded right-of-way.
well, what would...
Who's the
Tom,
owner
what
of
would
the
you think?
property
If we-
right now?
If he could establish that there is a lateral there, that puts a different view on it. It's an existing dwelling.
I guess I would agree,
Yeah,
that if there's a existing lateral not in use, I mean,
Yeah.
It's been calculated.
again, to try to squeeze a Title V system on this, that's going to need, because of its location, one of those fancy IA systems, which,
well, that's all Title V is that, but it may have to be above ground because of the wetlands.
Could be multiple issues there with
Options,
Title
yeah.
V.
You asked about digging down to find a lateral. Who owns the property?
The
Are
owner is
Is that somebody that?
a
you-
trust.
Oh, could you contact the
Well,
trust?
I'm under contract with the owner to buy it, but my contract is subject to seeing if this
My
is
question
possible.
my question is, you're not the owner, so if you can contact the owner and the owner gives you permission to dig down there, don't see why he can't.
Yep, but isn't the lateral by the road?
I think it's by the road.
It's a right-of-way.
Yeah, but it is a right-of-way, deeded right-of-way. Yes.
It's got a deeded right-of-way, so it's up to the owner whether or not he's allowed to do it.
Does the owner have proof that the betterment was paid?
Well, I don't think they're subject to the betterment because they were there beforehand, and then there's no, when I went to the,
Have sewer before, did they?
no.
They had a
No,
septic
they had
system.
septic,
More than likely a cesspool.
yes. It was
But
1954,
if the
so
pipe
yes.
ran down there, they still had a betterment.
Yeah, there's a lateral there, physically.
Well,
If a pipe ran down Back Street,
there's no betterment owed at the town hall, and when I asked in there, they said there wouldn't be one because it's too old. They had
Well,
rights to it.
I find that,
find it hard to believe if there was no betterment that they would have put a lateral there.
yeah.
And the property's not listed on our land not connected yet.
So what's our answer? If he's willing to bring his sewer line all the way out to the main street at his expense,
If there's an
we'll
existing.
let him
bet-
connect?
If there's an existing betterment, because we said no additional flow. So even if he brought his line out to the street and connected to sewer, that's an additional flow.
It's not a currently existing condition. If it
How
was
big a
pre-existing
unit
are you
condition, we
speaking
could-
of?
Three-bedroom,
Three?
1,350 square feet, three-bedroom.
So that's 330.
No, you
But-
can't, unfortunately, unable to establish a pre-existing condition.
Well, is it worth him doing any of this if it's still going to be increased flow and the answer's going to be no in the end anyway?
Well, if it's a pre-existing condition, situation, he
If
has a
there's an
lateral.
existing lateral,
Existing
Yeah.
lateral, yeah.
Oh, if
But
there's
do
an
some more
existing lateral,
investigation.
we can assume that it's already included in our flow charts?
yeah, even though we don't have it in the document, yeah.
Well,
We-
we couldn't prove that it isn't.
That's right.
is a
I mean,
better
it's
way
one
to
of-
put it.
We've always said if an existing lateral is there,
Then they were included.
they're included in
Okay,
our flow.
okay. Okay, so that's what it sounds like you're gonna have to do, prove the lateral's there. Now, how you do it, I don't know. Could you camera it?
we can't camera the lateral, all we could establish is that there is a lateral there, whether it's in use or not.
But you can't establish that it's his lateral.
Correct. Because we could just look up and be like, yep, empty pipe.
Yeah, I was told this one there, it'll be first come, first served, because they didn't even, no one was living in Back Street for so long. This is like a
But
squatted
Scott,
property.
do we have some place that says lateral numbers 1740, 1739, 1742 has been used at all? Do we have any place that says of these laterals, which ones are connected to which property?
No, we only have a list of the properties that are hooked up, not which laterals they are. In
Oh.
general, all we have are these pictures that show
Yeah.
a line going to a house.
Yeah, because if I go down and look at the laterals, I have 1742, it looks like it's going to a house. 1740 looks like it's going to house. 1739 looks like it's going to BB's. I mean, it's just, all you can do is say, looks like it's going to a house. You have no way to confirm it.
And that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
So if he found it,
Yeah.
And I'll
think
tell you, down on where Swiss Beach,
Swiss
there,
Beach.
Murphy Street? was it?
Murphy Street, yeah.
The lateral we tried to repair doesn't exist on our plan.
And yeah,
So there's that.
but there are laterals down there that exist on your plan, but are not on the not connected list. So there's a lot of issue with Murphy Street.
Anyway, beyond Murphy Street, getting back to this, you could have that situation here.
Yes.
If the rumor mill says it's there and you find it, then I think that's the answer.
Is it possible to camera that, and then I can dig where you camera it?
We could try.
I mean, even if it's a service I have to pay for, it's better than trying to dig down the street or cut pavement or something, on the
Yeah, 'cause
corner, you know?
where you dig doesn't necessarily mean that the lateral is.
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna have to dig down to connect to it anyway.
Yeah,
If he
no, that's
buys it.
true. But if we
Just how
know
many holes
maybe
you-
where the flow is from, the outflow from the camera, then I can go to that spot instead, because there's an apron coming off of Onset Ave. I wouldn't want to cut into that unless I knew it was right there, you know?
Indeed.
Like prospecting for gold, you're just gonna try what you can. If you're lucky, you get some.
I mean, on 30 East Central, a year and a half ago, I found that one, because I had an idea where it was, so it was like a 4x4 area, we found that one.
Can you find your water line?
On this property? I think it was a well.
Saltwater well?
Probably salt water.
So you're gonna have
Salt
to go
marsh.
through this with the water department as well.
Yeah, well, I talked to them already, they're okay with it,
Yeah, but
tapping in.
what are they gonna do for you?
As far as
Are they gonna bring
connection?
water to you?
No, I have to do it. I do
From
all the-
where?
I go from the house back to the curb stop.
What curb
Oh,
stop?
a meter pit that we have to install 100 feet off of Onset Ave. So I'll do all the excavation and supply all that pipe, and then I
I'm
have to pay
beginning to
the...
wonder more now about the lateral being there at all if there's no water line there.
Well, at this point in time, I
Well,
believe it's the level of cooperation or that Scott and his crew would like to offer him. Because we have to prove whether or not there's a lateral before the commissioners can make a decision on it.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can find a lateral, I guess, I can't
hook
speak
up.
for the board, but would go along with it.
I would
Okay.
say so.
We'll give it a shot.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
Good luck,
Thanks a
Russ.
lot.
Good luck.
Thank you, Russell.
It's so nice that you could attend this show tonight.
Not bad, I haven't been in a while,
I'm glad you answered your invitation.
And we'll see you in front,
meetings for a while.
we will see you in front of Conservation.
Yep, that's right.
It's not on the agenda yet, but I'm sure it's coming.
30-foot setback.
You got it.
Staked in.
We're going to more waddles lately. Yeah, waddles, yeah,
They're easier to install and carry around, actually.
and they're nicer looking.
Thank you, good night.
All right, have a
Thank
good night.
you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Next item on our agenda is the superintendent's report. Scott, you've been having a lot of fun over there, I
Oh,
understand.
we're having a blast. We did empty the Grisilla chamber, its lair. It's now empty. It now is the lair of Tony's Vector truck, which is currently in with doors shut, so. We have a little more work to do, going around the plant. We're still making a lot of repairs wherever we can, as quickly as we can. These things do take time, but we are identifying, yesterday I went out, unfortunately, with someone that then came down with COVID last night, but I drove around town for like 4 hours with him, with COVID. I tested negative just before I came here, so.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. We identified 6 lift stations that have been running and are running on one pump, which is not good since it's only 2. So we did some troubleshooting, identified repairs that we can make or need a contractor for, and we're moving forward on those because I don't like that. Again, the cleaning continues. We're made our first run to Mid-City Scrap today. There's a lot more to go. We have been calling also with the drums and the totes that Charlie was talking about. We've been calling actually the people that sold the product to us, because typically there's actually a deposit you pay for the drum. So I just want to make sure we're not paying to get rid of something that has a value that we can get paid for. So rather than rush to just throw things away, I want to make sure we get whatever value we can out of whatever we can.
Under the circumstances, of course.
Absolutely.
Put the money to good use.
Yeah, we do have one operating odor control unit now at the plant in the headworks. I am making strides to actually repair the headworks to the point that we can start receiving septage prior to the start of the actual headworks project, because we could really use the revenue, I think, and then put that towards some of the other things we want to do on site. One of the guys, Tim, came up with a great idea yesterday. We were talking about finishing off an area for storage, but it really isn't connected to the building. And when I realized that if we punch through the wall, we're in the locker room, and I realized we need a bigger locker room because we're actually developing staff. So we may do a little bit more horse trading and see if we can get, when they're back on site, to concrete in and brick in the outside of a loading dock that goes to nowhere right now, which is outside of our locker room, punch through the wall and expand our locker room into it. And it actually stays, it is underneath the roof, the existing roof. It would need a very small roof on it. So for short money, we could expand our locker room, make it nice again. So just some of the things we're doing. I was a little bit heartbroken last week to get an odor complaint on Saturday, but what happened was when the odor control unit started running again, it actually loosened up a valve that was open, and it actually closed itself. So the blower was running against a closed valve. But that was repaired on Monday, so it's up and running, and I'm not gonna say it smells good, but it smells better. So that's really where we're at. We're just still making strides, baby steps. It's a big onion to peel that we keep peeling.
Well, it's nice when we were coming out of the meeting with the Wareham Water, just a few moments before that, you had sent me the video of the blowers coming online.
Yep.
We looking at it, it's outstanding, wow.
Yeah, just gotta get the right people in line to get things done. So we've been moving forward. One of the internal recycle pumps is being replaced. It's been sitting in the garage all summer. It's being put into place, and it will be online within the next week. So,
good
because
grief.
All summer.
Such an easy solution.
Yeah, well, again, it's getting the right people to be able to get things done, so, yeah, that's about it.
Outstanding. Any questions?
How are you doing on hiring anybody?
We're actually getting quite a few resumes in the door, and
Dynamite.
young people, people with experience. It seems to be running the gamut. People wanting to come back. We actually just hired someone that had been here previously, and the staff was agreeable in bringing them back because he's a good teammate. So the team is building, and they're actively going out and actually recruiting people. So
Wonderful.
it's a very good thing right now. I just want to keep it that way.
That speaks very well
Not
of
every day is
you.
going to be sunshine and lollipops and everyone high-fiving, but there's been quite a few more good days than not.
Speaks very well of you, Scott. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott.
Welcome.
Okay,
And
the
Merry
next,
Christmas.
Merry Christmas to all of you.
the next item we have is some unfinished business. That would be a young lady with Pampered Pooch, Sharon Gates. And she's in the old utility, or, excuse me, Onset Police Station.
Which was originally the Onset Water Department.
Yes. It had history.
Oh, yeah.
She has been in town. Let's see, she's about 15 years, she says, and she's been in operation at 2 or 3, if not 2 locations. One would be in the square just above where she's currently located, where the post office is. She was there, and then she closed that, bought the where she is now currently as the Pampered Pooch, which is that particular building. And she's asking to do a kitchen and bedroom. There are 2 bathrooms in that. I talked with Jackie Nichols, the assessor, and the fact that it was listed only as 1 bathroom is as a commercial, they don't go in and count the bathrooms, such as we do with residential. So there are 2 bathrooms. Jackie has assured me of that and noted such on the card that describes that location. And I look at the context, she's been operating in town for well over 10 years, long before the moratorium was in place, and running legitimate business and processing or taking whatever wants flow, and she still is, you might say, functioning with the same flow in just a different location. So what is your opinion?
I think we should let her hook up.
I'm all in favor of letting her hook up as long as we can somehow justify it's not additional flow.
So what's happening with her old location? Is it continue having a possible flow?
Well, but that property now has flow.
So this is additional flow
But this
Well, that's-
property has flow also, where she
How
currently
much?
is.
compared to what she's offering.
Well, now are you splitting hairs to say if you are in one location, are using 200 gallons, you can only move to another location contingent upon only using 200 gallons?
Well, your old site is still using 200,
Yes,
so that's 400.
but there is 200 gallons at the old site. Someone else has moved into that location. Now she's at a site that someone previously was using gallons. Now, are you measuring it based on?
Don't know.
We measure on
So
EDUs,
we
we don't
just say-
measure on gallons, though.
Additional flow.
The reason I'm worried about saying yes is because it'll be a violation of our moratorium, and it may open up a can of worms, because it is based on flow.
Yeah, this is one of those issues where the lack of a certain level of criteria is you're suggesting that a business can't expand then. If in my location, I have.
Yes, that's exactly what we're saying, is the business cannot expand.
A house cannot increase bedrooms either. That's an increase in flow. So we said no.
I'm not arguing
No,
for or
I'm
against,
just-
I'm
I'm
just
just-
being a
But
devil's advocate
we're
here.
saying,
You'd have to look at the previous use of the building to determine how the Title V flow would have been calculated. And if a bedroom only has to be 7 by 10, and if she's eliminating that area from, say, office area where quite a few people sat, whatever the office calculation is, I think is 25 gallons a day per person for certain offices. If it's a police station, it goes, there's actually, the cells get calculated, the number of people in and out. So it's not like a standard business where it's just square footage.
If we follow that concept, then it's not additional flow.
That's the question. If you go and you use
No,
the
no, leave it
calculation-
alone.
Okay.
Correct?
I can't tell you how that
Sounds
old
that
building was used. I'm not even sure. I
I
cannot,
mean,
I
let's
don't know
face
how
it,
the old
it
building was
was a
used.
police substation, so there must have been sleeping going on.
I would not think so. Just because,
I mean,
I struck.
Careful where you go with that.
well, so it didn't happen in a bedroom. If you look at it the way Scott just presented it, it's not additional flow, and if that's the case, I'm all for allowing it.
You have opinion, Bob?
How do you
Well, she's
calculate
not
dogs?
adding on to the building, she's just changing the use of a room, is that what it is?
That's basically all she's
From an
doing, yeah.
office to a
Yeah,
bedroom?
she's not, yeah.
Essentially. I think she
So
may.
I think that's okay, it's just, you know, how finely do we want to split hairs?
Well, my feeling, it is the reason I was playing devil's advocate here, we have to define why and what we're doing here, because now it sets a precedent.
That's exactly my point. That's why I want to go along with Scott's explanation.
But how many pooches get washed and water goes down the drain every day that never used to happen in that facility?
If you
In that
calculate,
facility, but it happened in another facility.
Yeah, but that fills what's happening in the old facility.
Well, okay.
How is it
if-
being used?
You forget
one
that
of us-
scenario. That won't work.
you
But
look at
are-
25 gallons a person, what's the status for how many dogs?
Yeah,
How many gallons per
But
dog?
is,
but now
is,
you're talking about allocation. I own what? I own allocation of 200 gallons? Do I take it with me?
is there, do we?
Can I,
What was the EDU of what was the EDU of the building prior to this usage?
We would have to investigate that.
okay, let's table this, and we'll try and define what we will do and what kind of a precedent it sets. But we'll also, guys, I'll ask Wareham Water what the, Onset Water, what the usage was at both locations and the current usage.
Well,
Because if we.
you would have to go back quite a while, because even that substation was open only in the summer for a couple hours a day. You'd have to go back to when it was being used full-time.
See, that's the
It's been
problem
empty
with,
for so long.
when we're starting to split
Yeah.
hairs here.
Again.
And you just give, how many years do I go back? What is the rationale of going back? And what are the consequences of saying yes or no?
Well, the consequences of going back and looking at water usage are, you could look at years that it was vacant.
Yes,
that it
which
was
has been
vacant.
months and years it has been vacant.
But the actual Title V flow
Well-
wouldn't have been based on the aggregate actually used.
Okay. It would
Rather
have been.
than, it typically goes by square footage, retail space, whatever it might be, office space, it all gets calculated differently for Title V. The actual aggregate never comes into play.
If you base it on water use, you're going to lose because she's washing pets, so the water use has gone up. But at that point, you can go back to her previous business where she used to wash the pets. So Onset isn't actually using any more water, she's just taking it at a different location. So I don't think you can use that as a basis
Okay.
to
We
decide
just don't
your
know-
sewer usage.
But what's happening in the old site?
Yeah, we
But
don't care.
water usage, it's gone down because you're not watching your Greyhound.
But now you're saying that everyone owns a certain amount of gallons, because I
Each
move my
property owns
location,
it.
So I take it with
Property
me.
owns it,
It
exactly.
goes by the building, you don't take
Yeah.
it.
Indeed, I agree. But we're talking in the context in which she moves to a different direction. The entity,
So if you base it on water usage, it's not increased flow.
That'd be like saying you take a
So is there-
eight-person family and move them to a two-bedroom house. You should be allowed to add the bedrooms in because you still did this at another place, so. I don't
because
think
even
that's
with
a good
our
argument.
previous gentleman here, we're now setting criteria for when we'll entertain an exception. If he can find his lateral, we'll give it to him. That's a condition. He has to have the lateral.
But you've already established that. We're not establishing it with him, we've established that already. If you have a
Yes.
lateral, you can connect, it's
Yes,
already
hooked
been
Yes.
calculated in the numbers that we've
And this
used.
building's already connected.
So, pardon me?
This building's already connected. The
No,
connection's
I understand, I'm not,
not in question.
No, I'm just identifying how we are establishing criteria.
because we're not establishing criteria on Back Street. It's already been established.
The discussion now is,
We have established
changing
criteria
usage.
on this one, we're just trying to, we're trying to rationalize allowing a person to move from point A to point B, and she just wants to reconfigure the inside of her facility.
Okay, let's expand that a little further. You go to Wareham Crossing, there's at least 5 stores empty. Do you hang a sign there and say, okay, he can only have X number of gallons?
Well, that's the point.
I mean, just because he has a lateral, say, okay, he can do it, so any business can enter in there, one that goes from 200 gallons to 2,000 gallons.
Look at
Doesn't
Main
make any difference, because he has a lateral.
Look at the construction on Main Street. You're looking at how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at least duplexes?
So you're saying
Now
if
he's
you,
adding, he's gonna add 2 more, I don't think.
Yeah, I think so, okay.
So-
So you got 8 duplexes in place of 1 building. It's got a lateral, he's connecting.
so you're saying if you had an office building, or an office in a building, and there was 1 person in it, and it's connected, and now that person gives it up and a laundromat goes in there, they're automatically connected.
No, because
You're
change in
increasing
usage.
flow.
Change in usage.
Yeah, see,
Okay.
now you're getting down into there were areas, different areas that you have to identify. Under what conditions?
I like Scott's explanation, and in that case, I would vote to give her, I'd vote yes to allow her to connect.
Can you reiterate for the record what your conditions were, Scott?
No, don't do
Recall.
that. It sounded good the first time, don't screw it up.
The purpose would be to look at the existing and past use of the property to determine what the Title V flow would have been at its build-out. Not how often it was utilized, nothing like that. Don't look at the actual flow used.
Right.
It would have been the
but
use of the property, retail, office, whatever it might have been, how the square footage was calculated into Title V flow, if that's enough for 110 gallons a day and the business she wants to run out of it. Simple as that.
And who do we get that from?
Okay, I'll get that information for us.
Title V.
Well, if you go all the way back to when it was the water department, there was even more people in there.
There you go.
Well, at least we'll get the
That's why they
information there
have 2
and we can act
bathrooms
on
that are
that.
not on the assessors.
Yeah.
But bathrooms don't add flow.
No, I'm just-
And neither
I-
does a kitchen. You know,
I was just,
yeah.
She's just trying to push back.
Well, it's,
What time's the game start?
I make a motion.
I would,
Excuse me?
go ahead.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'm not there yet.
We're not finished yet.
Go ahead.
They talk a lot before the football game starts.
Yeah.
Has anybody come to us asking for permission to tie in and get use flow? We haven't heard anything from Agawam Housing. We haven't heard anything from the building going up by the elementary school. I got the impression that that guy thought we were giving him approval at the last meeting.
I have heard nothing informal or formal.
People gotta realize if they're gonna want to have flow, they gotta come talk to us. I don't know how else to say it. I can't-
Planning should not, from my understanding, and I've looked at different documents, it is required for them to fill out a form and identify whether or not they have to go before us. And there are certain conditions, preconditions that they're required to come before us.
Just- If somebody wants to build something, you better get going and, that's what I wanted to do. Project down on Lower Main Street has come before Conservation to put in another building on their site that was not included when we approved the flow usage for Lower Main Street.
What is the name of the project, do you recall?
Danny Warren,
He wants to put up another building?
yes. He wants to put up another building closer to Bessie Park that will be an office for the marina, including bathroom and showers.
Oh, I didn't know about that one.
So
thought-
that's well beyond what that's beyond what we approved for the
I
restaurant.
thought that, there was talk one time about that being an ice cream stand or something.
Well,
Exactly.
I think it's underneath, isn't it?
no,
No, the ice cream stand was gonna be a separate
Separate, was
building.
a separate
it's,
building?
The
it never,
location she's
it would
talking
never
about.
put on a plan. This one is now on a plan that's come before Conservation and Planning, and it has to come before Historic District also, but that's what's currently being proposed is a office with shower and bathroom facilities for the marina. And they're working on
Shower,
developing
excuse me?
showers for the marina. If you have a marina, you
Yeah, yeah,
tend to
yeah, yeah,
have
I
showers
got
and
it.
bath and showers and washer and dryers for your people on. Just heads up that this is coming down.
Would tell them to stop right there. It's
And
not gonna go, period.
That's additional flow, and they've got to start
Huge
coming to
additional
talk.
flow. Huge additional flow.
Yes, they have to come talk to us, what they want something. There's something being happening for the Everett School. Has anybody come talk to us about how that might be repositioned?
Up here.
I don't know.
Well, you've brought it up several times, Sandy, and I'm as concerned as you
And-
are.
and I'm hoping somewhere
But if we don't
gets
have
the-
anything formal, or even if
That's
they
right.
attempt on an informal basis.
When they talked to, asked about the building off by the elementary school, and my response was, that person better come talk to us.
Exactly.
Because not,
Does the
certainly
project have a
no,
name, do you recall?
I didn't get a name.
No.
I have not seen anything for that on top of the hill.
Because if you have a name, you can easily,
I don't-
we go
I
back
haven't-
through the planning minutes and all.
I have nothing's come before planning for that
Where-
property on top of the hill.
Where is this at this stage? Is it at planning?
Which project?
Danny's project.
I haven't seen it on the planning agenda.
So
It's only come
it's
before.
just talk at this
No,
point?
it's come before conservation.
That's what I'm asking. Where is it at?
Conservation.
And what's conservation saying?
I think we approved it.
So now, what's the next step? Is planning next?
Planning or zoning, I'm not sure where, planning, I think.
No,
There isn't a set,
no, certain steps to follow.
yeah,
a certain
yeah,
order.
that's, I'm asking kind of.
Yeah, that's why be in front of conservation if
Yeah,
you don't have a plan
and he's putting
yet?
two additions on the building and stuff like that. Somewhere down the line, historic district has to be involved. I don't know where the steps go.
When does it come to building, for building permit?
That starts it.
Excuse me?
It starts it.
Supposedly.
So it's already been there?
I would think so. I've not seen the paperwork to confirm that, but it's
I
hard to
thought we
believe.
had a thing with building, they were gonna start talking to us.
But just heads up,
There's a few things you
I
drive
don't
down
know,
these
I
streets
don't
and you
know the
wonder
steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
how long ago they
Well,
started.
Sometimes they come to conservation first because we can be the hardest ones. Then they go down to
I
planning and stuff
can't
like.
believe that.
Say it isn't so. I can't believe that.
There's a little braggart there.
Hey, I like to save that 30-foot no-touch zone. Oh, poor little turtles, so, you know. Oh, just, if I'm aware of something, I just want to let you know there's
Yes.
something in the works that we need to watch for.
Indeed, because some of the committees, ours and also, were kind of a little
Everybody's,
niche.
everybody's in their own little box.
Yes.
But there isn't a set of rules that says you have to get everybody, this approval, that approval, and everything?
Well, I just know that planning can't approve anything until conservation approves it. But I don't
Okay.
know where planning is on the stage for this. I haven't seen it, I
Now,
haven't
does-
seen it
does-
on their agenda.
Does conservation come before building?
Building starts it.
So it's
I believe building starts it.
building, conservation?
Building,
See, now that,
I can't tell you the
in my
steps.
estimation, that's ass backwards, because everybody should approve it before you're allowed to get a permit. How building can give you a permit and then
Oh,
tell you you
building-
gotta go?
No, building starts it, and then it goes down from the steps as to, building says,
And then you have to go
oh,
back to building?
We need to get on the
building gets the
checklist.
final.
Yeah.
Building gets the final approval for occupancy or something else like that, but
So, in
Building
other
is
words,
kind of the
so
traffic
building
cop.
would give you the checklist of who you gotta go see.
that's right. And your checklist includes conservation, planning, zoning,
And once you
sewer,
get that all checked off, you go back to building and
they
they'll
do the
issue a
final
permit.
They do the final inspections.
Now, I'm talking about starting out, never mind inspections. Then they issue the building permit.
yeah, you go down to, you go down to building, and they hand you all the documentation that you have to fill out, conservation.
Yep. Now you come
We're-
back
we're
and
in
get
that
your
list
building
too, that-
permit.
We're in that pile also,
We are.
yes.
And then once that is all done, now you can go back and get your building permit. Okay, that's what I was asking, Sandy.
Okay, then I misunderstood.
Okay, moving on to something else, but next meeting is January 11th. Typically, our fourth Thursday would fall in between Christmas and New Year's, and I don't think we're very interested in having to do this thing during that time frame. Also, the meetings are going to start being combination of meetings and workshops. There's an awful lot on our plate, and I think we should start taking a more serious interest in it. It's, I've got to find out in terms of, because we're going to be ending up borrowing more money perhaps with some projects, how we fall within the town's debt limit.
You didn't hear last night's selectmen's meeting,
I didn't hear
Tuesday
it.
night's selectmen's meeting.
I read it in Wareham Week. But yes, I've known that for quite some time, and
Yes,
from the Finance
Coming out of
Committee.
FinCom, I would expect,
Yeah, we are just about, if not, we're at the ceiling, max.
Yep.
The school department moved it over, took a big bite out of it, and rightly so. I mean, that's part of our process and all. But it reached now, there's a balance between the revenues. So much for school, so much for town. If one takes $1, that means the other side has to sacrifice $1 to maintain that balance.
We're not gonna touch
And
it.
that is a very serious condition for any
So
municipality.
if the school wants another $2 million, we lose $2 million from the rest of the town in order to process.
Well, that was the December
No.
7th meeting, and I've been through a ton of those, and that's dream sheet.
Okay.
And I remember one, I said, no, it's not gonna work, it's in the trash. Figure it out again. Love telling them that. That was really, gave me a thrill of that night.
Peter, I'm done.
You were gonna say something, Peter?
I
find that his motion. hard
to believe. We have a second.
I have a second for his motion.
It wasn't,
What's
we
the
haven't heard
answer?
the first motion yet.
It's still, I still second it.
I make a motion, we adjourn?
I heard Jim say he seconded it.
8:15 is the time? Yeah, yes.
That's the selectman's clock. Can we depend on that clock?
Call me by Zoom.
And you're telling me to be careful?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote.
Merry Christmas,
Merry
everybody.
Christmas.
For those, Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Happy
How was your
New Year.
Hanukkah?
And happy Hanukkah.